questions, go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat box and we will follow up. But Michael, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, LJ. As LJ mentioned, this particular program is being recorded. Please reference back to it if there's something that you think you missed. This basically is going to be a hands-on demo of InDesign. Tips and tricks to get the individual started with InDesign. For those of you who have dabbled in it a little bit, it'll be beneficial. For those of you who are thinking about getting into it, this will be beneficial. This isn't by no means a best practices course. We're going to do a lot of shortcuts. The tips and tricks will play into it. We're going to basically focus on, first and foremost, we're going to document. We'll learn how to do a document setup. We will look into formatting, master pages, including page numbers, images, how to put an image into a shape, how to do rounded corners, how to check your image size, which is a great little feature of InDesign. Now, those of you who are experienced with Word and or experienced with PowerPoint, you'll see some crossover there. You'll see some things that Word does better than InDesign. You'll see some things that PowerPoint does better than InDesign. But I believe InDesign overall is a much more powerful tool. What we're going to look at today, for the most part, is how to do a lot of the things manually, which I believe once you learn those things, you have a lot more control over your document. There are some people that are by the numbers people, and you can certainly create styles, paragraph styles, text styles, and we will do one of those. I'll show you the advantage of doing a text style. But without further ado, let me share this screen. Please, anybody, let me know if you have issues viewing the screen. We're going to go ahead and share the InDesign. Share. Okay, so you should be seeing the InDesign interface right now. Very basic. We're working from the Mac version. The PC version varies slightly, mostly in the keyboard, the keys on the keyboard. The Mac, we talk about the Command key. The PC equivalent is the Control key. On the Mac, we talk a lot about the Option key. The PC equivalent is the Alt key. So let's start really quick by creating a new document. So Command or Control N for new. Let's get over there. New. Okay, let's get this here. So this is what comes up. I want to draw your attention very quickly just to a couple of key things moving into this. You'll notice here the default, at least on the Mac, when you first come into it, is listed in picas. It's going to make, and most of us don't speak the pica language anymore. That is basically a print term for print shops and page typesetters and things like that. However, so here you can switch it to inches, and now your document is now in the familiar 8.5 by 11. But, oh, and also we'll talk about facing pages later. We are just going to create a linear series of pages. But I want to show you this clever little trick. Let's say you're just not thinking, and you go ahead and you leave it at picas and you hit create. Okay, our document comes up, and you're working along and you notice, oh my gosh, my ruler, that doesn't look like inches. This is measuring all the way 48 plus. It's in picas. Well, how do we turn that back into inches? You'll notice if we go back to the page setup, there's nothing here in this page setup that allows you to switch back to inches. So are you stuck using picas? No. So let's cancel. And using your trusty mouse, you will right mouse click on the ruler, change it to inches. Got to do them both, and do the vertical, right mouse click, Changed inches. Okay, now we're back to an inches diagram. Now we're going to add some text. Text, unlike Word, in InDesign, you actually have to give the text a place to go. So we're going to draw a text box. We'll draw it out to the margins. And for this demo, rather than import text, which you can do from a Word document, you can cut and paste from Word right into InDesign. You can also place text from a Word document into InDesign. But we are going to, for this demo, we are going to come over to Type. We're going to come down to Fill with placeholder text. Bang, there we go. This will be the text that we work with here for the next few minutes. So now we want to modify this text and make it a little more palatable. And the first thing we're going to do for this particular demo is we're going to do Command or Control A to select all. We're going to change the typeface up here from what in my default is Minion Pro. You'll see Minion Pro. And just for those of us interested, Minion Pro is the typeface. It is not the font. The font is Minion Pro Regular. You will see there's only one font in Minion Pro. Let's change this to the ever popular and ASU official typeface. I kid you not, if you don't know, is Accidents Grotesque. So we're going to go Accidents Grotesque Pro Regular. Once again, Accidents Grotesque is the typeface. Now look at this. Here are your fonts. Look how robust this typeface is. It's got light all the way to super italic. These are the fonts. So this is basically actually what you see on the print. So just for splitting hairs, that's the true difference between the two. So for now we'll go regular. Okay, we want to go ahead and we'll want to break this up. Now you'll notice I'm adding spaces here between paragraphs, and I've got this little red X now, or a little red plus that has shown up down here in the corner. That is indicating that we now have text that is in the box that is beyond the box. In other words, there's hidden text that the box is not big enough to show. So we can go back to the arrow tool. Now you notice you got your points surrounding your box. We just open the box up and make it a little bigger. And once again, we are just spacing and adding and making that look like a nice, neat piece of text. One of the things that's really fun to do is add what is called a drop cap. And InDesign makes that very easy to do. We can just select the P. We want that to be a drop cap. We come all the way over here. There's a little drop down over on the right, 3 little lines. Click on it, and this little hidden box opens up. And we have on here, right down here, hidden in the kind of middle of the list, drop caps and nested styles. We click on it. If we make sure our preview button is clicked, as we make changes, you'll see it happen. So we are going to do a drop cap. We want it to be 3 lines. Okay, now it's 3 lines wide or 3 lines deep, and we want it to align to the left edge. And we only want it to affect 1 character. We click OK. Now we have a beautiful drop cap there. Let's just come in and we can add it. Let's make it super. Okay, so handy sometimes, fun to use. Use it sparingly. Typically, this isn't something you would want to use like on every page. This is something that you would want to maybe start a document with. Okay, a couple more things about text. I'm going to zoom in, Command or Control plus, really quick. One of the other really interesting hidden things that InDesign does is, let's say, for example, we want, let's pick this right here. We want that right there. See how beautiful that looks as a call out? I mean, we've got a really nice highlight there. We've got a reversed highlight with white text and a black box. But I just did that with selecting it. What if we wanted it to stay that way? So we select it, and we come up here, and we click on this Underline tool, and da-da! No, that's not what we wanted. Why did we get that? How do I get it all black with white text? Well, hold the Option key down or the Alt key, and then click on the Underline tool, and you get a dialog box. Now, we are underlining on. We want to create a weight, so we click it up. Now you'll notice that line is growing. It's actually getting larger and taking up more and more of that space. Okay, but it needs, now that we've got the thickness, we want to move the offset. So if we click offset, you'll see that comes up and it squares it just right. Okay, then we click OK. There, great, right? Oh, you want to read it. Okay, come back, we select the text. This gets a little wonky here. Trust me, after a few times. Come down to swatches. Now, oh, I also wanted to mention also, you've got all your tools over here that are all on the right showing. It's always a good idea to keep the ones you use most, drag them off. And so now they're going to always be there. So we come over here, we have the T is selected, the text is selected, we click white or paper. Still not there. Now we got to come back. Once again, Option. Change that from paper to black. Now we have it. And it's there permanently. But you saw the steps that we had to do there. There were several of them. What we want to do is we want to make a style out of that. So anytime we want to do that highlight, it's a style. So now it is selected. You come over here and you'll notice you've got paragraph, character, and this is kind of truncated, but this one is actually, if you hold over long enough, it will mouse over. You can see this is character styles. Click on it. It shows none. We want to add, so we click plus and we double click it, and we're going to call it black highlight. Little abbreviation speak there. Now that is a style. I come over here and I say, oh, I like that. I don't want to go through all that again. I just want to come over here. Now that I've got that as a style, I just click it and it's done. Okay, now let's say you say after you've done this a while, you think, you know, I think I would not only like the black highlight style to have these properties, but you know what, I maybe want to bump that up a bit. Maybe I want to do it as a medium rather than regular font. So I double click it over here, brings it up. Oops, sorry, got ahead of myself. Click it once. I got it. Okay, this is doing this because my text is selected. So I want to undo it. Sorry. Come over here, deselect. So no text is selected. Come over here. Now double click it. The dialog box comes up. I can come over here to basic character formats, font style. I can choose medium. Click OK. Now I've got medium there, and everywhere you have got that particular style incorporated, it will change. So nice little thing to know. Now let's talk about columns. So I'm going to double click in the text. I would love to see this in 2 columns. So I want to break that into 2 basic columns. Well, gosh, I'm looking up here. I don't see it anywhere. Where in the world could that be? Well, once again, why that is not here when the text is selected is beyond me. It should be, but it's not. In order to expose that particular tool, you got to come back to your arrow tool. Our text is still selected. We come up, and right up here where we see this little 3-column thing, we can change that from 1 to 2. And I'm going to show you this other nifty little trick. And then if you just take this, if you hold down, I'm clicking on that top arrow and I'm holding it. So while I've got it that way and I let it sit for a second, now that I drag it, I can see it happen in real time. I can get that pretty much squared away in real time. Now I've got 2 nice equal columns. So now let's add a picture. So quick way for me to key command is Command or Control D. And we'll open up a box, open up your browser, and we are going to go ahead. I've got a demo folder right here. I think I've got an image in there ready to go, demo desert. I'm going to bring that in. Now you'll notice it's the image, the thumbnail is held on the mouse. If you click and drag, you can place it exactly the size that you want it. If you were to just click it, let's do it again. Watch what happens. So I'm going to do it, bring it in, click OK. I'm not going to click and drag this time. I'm just going to click. It comes in at its actual size. Now you've got some extra work there. You've got to resize it. You've got some scaling to do. And fine if you want to do it that way, but dragging gives you the exact size placement that you want. And now we've got a bit of a problem here. We've got text that is behind all that. This is another cool trick of InDesign. So we want to flow this text to the next page. Well, we don't have a next page yet. Come down to Pages, Pages dialog, click plus. Okay, right underneath it, we now have page 2. Now we have a place for that text to go, but you'll notice that nothing happened other than we created a page. Well, how do we move that text? Okay, let's first of all draw the box. Okay, so there we go. That is the first part of the text. We want to move, we want to continue this text box down to this page. Click on the red arrow. You'll notice the cursor picks up the text in the little icon view. Come down to page 2, click and drag. And there's the flow. There's the rest of it. But you've got to come back and you have to change. If you would like to stay in 2 columns, you're going to have to come back up because it's a separate piece. It's a separate element. So we come up and we change that to 2 columns. Okay, so now we've covered how to get a real basic design in InDesign using text and images. Now I want to show you what a master page is and how we can create a page number. So we're going to come over here to the Pages dialog, and we are going to see right here we have 2 little boxes here. One is called A Master. Now for this beginning tutorial, all I will mention is you can do multiple masters that all contain different things. But for this, we're going to just talk about the one A master and what we can do with it. So we double click it. Okay, up comes the master page. Anything you put on this page is going to appear on every other page. We're going to put a page number. This is really cool. So take the text tool, draw a text box, type in the letter A. Why A? Because A is referencing back to the A master. Now that that is selected and we have A, we come up to type, open the type drop down, come all the way down to insert special characters. Want to come over, and we don't want a symbol, we want a marker, and that marker is current page number. Okay. Okay, so now that is set there. It's in Accidents Grotesque medium. It is 12 point. Okay, I'm just going to put it down here and stick it right there. And let's come back. Now let's go back to our original document. Double click. Okay, there's page 1. While I'm on the subject, here we are looking at a document that has it's got some really interesting, nice little guides to it. One is the page guide. That's this purple and pink line that surrounds the page. If you want to see what your document looks like without that, and you're using the current version of InDesign, I will stress you have to have the most current version of InDesign. You can come over here to this little dude right here and click on it, and you can turn off guides. Okay, now we've got rid of the guides, but we still have this box around it. Okay, that box is called a frame. And once again, this is a great little reminder to show you, oh, I've got text in here. I can see the frame edges. I know this is done in 2 column. I want to get rid of the frame. I want to see it, what it looks like completely as it would look on a printed page. Come over here, turn off frame edges. There's our page. Now let's just say we want to move the number 1 or page 1. Oh, let me show you this. It's also appeared on page 2, and it will appear. Let's come down here. Let's add a page. Let's click on 2. Let's add a page 3. Okay, there's page 3, and there's the page number. But let's go to page 1. We want to center this. We want this to be right in the middle between those 2 columns. Can't move it from here. It's anchored to the master. So we double click the master. Click on it, just bounce it over a little bit. Now you could get down and dirty, and you could go ahead and draw a guide there right at 4 1/4. And now that guide that is on the master is going to appear on every other page. So there it is there. So we're almost there. Go back and let's click it again and move it a little more. And if anybody has questions, please feel free to interrupt. And I'm happy to talk to you. So anyway, there we go. We're going to turn the guides off. We're going to go back to page 1. And now we've got a beautiful flowed document. Now, a couple of other things here. Let's talk about this image. So one really nice feature of InDesign is corners. If you would like to round those corners, you go to Object, you come down to Corner Options. Corner Options, it's like this. And right here in the middle is a link that says all the settings are going to be the same. So if you want all 4 corners to have the rounded edge, click on it, click round. Now you notice we have preview selected, so we're seeing it as we're doing it. And we want to round those up a bit. We want to get them nice and round. Click OK. And now you've got something like that. It's just a little friendlier. But let's say you want to get a little bit more exotic with it. Let's go back to Corner Options. Let's unhook. So now they're not bound. they're not bound to each other. Let's change that one to none. Let's change that one to none. Here, now we got something a little more dynamic. Now, I'm going to show you something kind of interesting and fun. If you really want to spice up your document a little bit more. And once again, you will see parallels to PowerPoint and Word. We're going to add a title. So I'm going to click the Type tool. I'm going to drag a box right in the middle, and we'll call this Issue in the Desert. Okay, now you notice this is still adding that black highlight. I don't want that anymore. I can simply come up and just turn it off right there, even though it was part of the style. Okay, now I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to just make that text really big. I'm going to double click it and select it. The reason I'm doing that is I do not like the hyphenation. Depending on where your InDesign application is open, sometimes you will see both the text and paragraph controls. In this case, because I'm looking at it on a very small screen, I can click on the paragraph tool, and then that exposes hyphenate. I can turn hyphenate off. Now I have effectively just taken out hyphens. Now I'm going to change that to a nice big bold super. And I'm going to just enlarge that by itself, just by clicking on the enlarge button. And then we have something like that. And then something you can do if you want to decrease the distance between lines, which is basically called leading. We will take the space out between the two, tighten that right up, and maybe have a little more fun with it. Maybe we put a space, do a return, soft return space. And then we say, well, maybe I want that to be yellow. So my text T is highlighted because the text is highlighted. We're going to color that yellow. And then, of course, we save often all this. demo 2. We'll save it in the demo folder. Okay. So I want to show you one other fun little thing I find very interesting anyway. Let's move down here to this page. Let's say, for example, for some reason, you require 3 images. You want to put not just one across the top here, you want to put 3 of them. And you want to make sure they're all the same size. I'm going to turn on my rulers. This is a fun little workaround. And let's start by, we're actually going to draw a box without putting an image in there. All right, there's our box. That's for conversation's sake, we'll color it blue. We want 3 equal size boxes to go from this border to that border. There's our first box. Okay, if you hold the Option key down on the Mac, or you hold the Alt key down on the PC, you can duplicate it. You drag it over, there's number 2. And drag it over, and there's number 3. Okay, not only, you can see, not only do they not fit in the space that we want it to fit, they're not even equally spaced. Well, let's solve the space problem first. Let's get them equally spaced. We just come up here, we select all 3. Okay, when all 3 are selected, we have all these little cool little spacing tools. We want to click on this one, which is Distribute Horizontal Centers. There, done, right? No, not quite. We still need to fit them. Now you could do the math. You could come up here and you could measure each one. You could be painstakingly measuring and dividing and determining which is the right size. A little trial and error involved in getting that. Or you could simply select all, click on the last thing, drag it close, and now you have 3 equally sized boxes right where they need to be. And Command D, Control D. You bring that in. Now you'll notice I just clicked. I didn't scale like I did on the first one. That's because I want to show you this fun little thing. You'll notice that we only have just a very small portion of that image. If I double click the image or I click in the middle, you'll see it turns to a hand. I'm going to double click. I'm just going to double click here. You'll see now I've got a much bigger brown border all the way around it. That is the size of the original image. Now, I like doing it this way because once again, I've got more control getting what I want. So if I want to scale that and make that fit in the window, but I want to have control over doing it, I don't want InDesign to do it for me. If I hold down the Shift, Option, Command, or on the PC, Shift, Control, Alt, I get that little pointer double arrow, and I click and I drag. You can see it's dragging in all 4 corners, and I get it right about to there, and there's my full image. Now, you would do the same thing with this one and this one. So that's a fun little trick that I like to use a lot. Let's move to, let's see what else I want to talk about. Oh yeah, this is very valid, very valuable thing that InDesign does. Let's say, with printed documents, depending on who's printing them and where they're being printed, you always want, optimum is you always want the highest resolution image that you can find. It's best to buy those images or at least have a reliable source. If you can go to the ASU Photo Shelter, which is a wonderful resource for ASU images, or you can buy them from a stock agency, but that's another story for another day. Let's find out if this image is even worthy of being printed. So while it is selected, we're going to come over here and we're going to click on links, because it is a linked document. It is not embedded like PowerPoint does or like Word does. It actually links the file. So we're going to click on links, and down here we are going to see that the actual pixels per inch is 240. Our effective PPT is 533, well beyond quality for printing. So we are in really good shape for that. It was a high-res photo to begin with, and it continues to be a high-res photo here. Now I want to show you something though. I'm going to double click it so you can see what I mean. Okay, so I've got a double click. I'm going to Control, I'm going to Alt Option Command or Shift Option Command. I'm going to drag it open and make it a little bigger. Okay, now it's bigger. Now we still have our actual PPT. It's still 240 because that's just standard. Our effective PPT has dropped to 308. Okay, this is still very printable. If it drops below about the 240 threshold and starts getting down under 200, your picture is going to get grainy and fuzzy. And this is the advantage of having a linked document, a linked photo, rather than embedded. When you embed images into PowerPoint or into Word, they lose that quality. They become the DPI and size of whatever it is that you originally place it. If you place it into a Word document at one size and then come back a day later and then scale it up to make it bigger, it's going to lose some resolution. InDesign files, for the reason they're linked, that doesn't happen. Okay, now let's talk a little about sharing. Let's say you are finished with this and you're going to hand it off to someone else and they're going to go ahead and make edits. How is that done? You can't, unlike Word or PowerPoint, you cannot just send them the InDesign file. You have got to send them the InDesign file, the image, and you also have to send them the typeface. That is what's called packaging. So in order to make sure that the person that is going to modify this has everything they need, very simple. You just come up under File, you go to Package, and now you'll notice I've got this little triangle warning sign. This is telling me that the image we're using here is RGB color space. It's in the red, green, blue color space, which is basically for digital and monitor use only. InDesign in this particular situation is set up for print, so it's looking for the CMYK color space, the cyan, magenta, yellow, black. You can ignore that. What's important here is that you're looking and seeing there's two links, both of them are found, none modified, 0 missing, so this is all good. Click Package, and it's going to create a folder name because it's going to package everything in a new folder. We're going to click Package. And here, this is an interesting little tidbit worth pointing out. Arizona State University has adopted Accidents Grotesque as its official branded typeface. There's some symbolism behind that, which I won't go into, but they picked it for a reason. Its nearest lookalike is Arial. It's basically a sans serif font, which means it doesn't have the little serif edges on it like Times New Roman. But we're getting a warning here saying that we are getting ready to apply some copyright, to a copyrighted software. Because ASU owns that typeface, and anybody that wants to use it has got to go through, they're supposed to go through the Marketing Hub, which is a story for another day. We're going to click OK. It's just a warning letting us know that that typeface, has got some restrictions. So we click OK, and the file is packaged. Now, if I drag this over here, can you guys see my my directory window, LJ?
The directory?
Yeah, do you see the directory called Dropbox ASU?
No.
Okay, I thought it would show up on top of my shared screen. Well, I don't want to break my shared screen with the application just yet, but anyway, we'll come back to that at the end. But anyway, what we've done by packaging that we've created a separate folder on your desktop or wherever you've chosen to put it that contains the InDesign file, a PDF, a folder with your linked images in it, and a folder with your typefaces. So once you share that file through Dropbox, whoever opens it, assuming they have a copy of InDesign, they'll be able to open it and make modifications to it pretty seamlessly. The other thing worth talking about is at this level, with this file, InDesign operates in, you can create layers. That's more of an advanced thing. Anybody that's ever worked in layers knows you can layer this thing and have like all your type on one layer, your images on another. That's if you've got a very complicated document. You can do very well just by working on a single layer. If I hold the Command Shift key or Control Shift key down and type the bracket parentheses, it pushes it to the back. It's still there, it's just behind the image. And then Command Shift forward bracket brings it to the front. This is an easy way to keep your things organized front to back. Now let's say you want to add more stuff on top of this image. Oh, let me show you this first. Sorry, I'm bouncing around here. This is another fun little tidbit to learn. If I want to move both of these objects at the same time, I can just drag, and as long as I'm dragging and touching both things, I'm touching the image first, then the text, both are selected. And now both can be moved around. They can even be grouped just by a Command or Control G groups them. But let's say you wanted to, let's say we had a couple of other things on here. Let me draw a couple of boxes here. I want to say those have images in them. And now you want to move those three boxes. Well, you can certainly just click on all three and move them anywhere you want. But you can also do this, and this isn't, I'm sorry, this isn't the best example, but it's certainly something you can apply, especially if you've got some complex borders and you've got other things inside of other things. If you click and drag outside and you select everything, now the three boxes are selected, so is this image. But you don't want that image selected. If you hold the Shift key down and click, it deselects it. So now I only have the three images, or the three boxes selected. So once again, if I click and drag, let's say I'll drag over everything. Now everything is selected, everything moves. But let's say I want the desert text and the image to move, but I like the position of those three boxes. Shift key, deselect, deselect, deselect. Now the things that are left are movable. And they're also Command G will group them. Okay, now that one is grouped inside of another, and if you wanted to move the desert text in a grouped element, you just double click it and it selects that and you can move that. Now, let's do something fun. I want to show you this real quick. Let's get rid of these, and I want to show you something kind of fun. I'm going to ungroup, Command Shift or Control Shift G, ungroups. Move this out of the way for just a minute or two. This over here, this gray area that you're seeing, we call that the clipboard. You can basically store unused elements in the clipboard, and it won't appear as your exported PDF document. But I want to show you something. I'm going to click over here to this file called hex demo. So here's the image. What I'm going to show you how to do next is take this and turn it into that. So we're going to go back to our demo and start from scratch. So first thing we do, we double click it. We get the full image. Okay, I'm going to scale this down a little bit. Okay, double click it again. I'm going to cut it, Command X. Okay, it's out of there. I'm going to delete the original box that it was in. I'm going to come over here to this tool, and I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to select the Polygon tool. I click Polygon, I come over here, I hold my Shift key down, and I draw that shape. And just for grins, I'm going to click black to color it in so you can see that there's a shape there. Now, I had this set to a hex shape. If you wanted to change the number of edges that you have, you click on the tool again, only you hold the Option key down and click. Let's get the right one. Okay, now before I draw my box, I hold the Option key down. I now get a dialog box. Okay, let's say I want an 9-sided diagram element. Click OK. Okay, now I have a 9-sided element. So that's how you change the number of sides. We're going to stick with this hexagon for now. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to come up here to Edit, Paste into. It's now going to paste that file into the document, into that image, that shape. Sorry. I double click it. You can see that it still has a very nice large border around it. A lot of image we're not seeing. So how do we make that image work? Okay, so we come back over here, click on this tool. That's an option to get back to 6. Now we have 6. Okay, we're going to color it in black so we can see it. We'll take this and we'll position it somewhere where we like, right about there. Okay, you're going to come up here to Edit, Paste into. It right where it's supposed to be. Come over here, we'll draw another one. Edit, paste into. Okay, so we're slowly building. Now you know what, and the thing is, for those of you familiar with PowerPoint, you can do this in PowerPoint very easily, but we're going to show you something here in a minute that you can't do in PowerPoint. It would be tedious. You could do this in PowerPoint. It would be tedious, but it could be done. Okay, now we have a new shape. Once again, Edit, Paste in place. Or I'm sorry, Paste into. Bang. Okay, I'm going to draw another one right here. And Edit, Paste into. Okay, so there we have the beginnings of that original graphic I showed you a few minutes ago. Got a really nice central graphic, but you can see, you know what, it's not quite as dynamic as this one. So how do we get these overlays? How do we get this idea that these shapes become a little more visible? Let's just do this one at a time so you can see the transition. So we click on this, we find Effects, and we click on Effects, and we come over here. This starts out as normal. Okay, we're going to see what it looks like as multiply. Okay, so there's multiplying now. It shows through wherever it overlaps. Let's change this one from normal to multiply. Let's change this one from normal to multiply. Let's drag and select both of those and change them both. Multiply. Okay, we're getting closer. Okay, now I want to show you, take it to the final stage. This does look very nice the way that it is, but you'll notice on the other one, I've got yellow outlines. So we're going to do that, something similar on this one. So we just click, come to swatches, move this out of the way, click on the outline, click yellow, come up here, we change it from 1 point to 2. But you're saying, but Michael, I only see that yellow outline. Tell you what, let's do this just for grants. Let's make that yellow a little more ASU-ish, or mustard, or gold. Okay, you'll see that you know, we've done that. Let's do it to all of them. Let's add that yellow stroke. 2 points. Okay, so there we have something very similar to what we saw in the example I showed you. Now, these images are floating inside those shapes. So if you choose to move this one, the image moves with it, and you can see that we no longer have the continuity that we have. We have basically disrupted the frame. If you like the position of the new position of the hex, you can simply double click on the image, hold, and you can drag the image back to, it's a little practice, we can get it back to where it was and matches up the other ones. Anyway, so that is how we do that fun little diagram. Now, something else worth mentioning, when it comes time to export this file, it's pretty simple. Export, Command or Control E. If you select PDF and you click Save, we're saving it as an Adobe PDF print. We have the choice of saving it as a print or interactive. If you save it as interactive, you can add obviously interactive things like page jumps and different buttons and things like that within InDesign, especially link, or within you can add links. Or if you've got links to web pages in your text down here, if you save it as interactive, those links come across in your interactive PDF. We'll save it to print. I'm going to click Save. I'm going to click Export. I'm going to optimize for fast web view. And I want to view, on this click too, I want to view the PDF after exporting. So I click Export. Actually, Export. And because I'm just sharing my InDesign screen, you won't see the PDF. Maybe you do. Do you see the PDF?
No, we don't.
Okay. Well, trust me, it's there. We'll come back and visit that again. Okay, so back to InDesign. Now, I'm going to show you another interesting thing about InDesign. Right now, if we go to our pages, you'll notice, drag pages out of there, you'll notice that we've got 3 pages. They're linear, they're all lined up this way, but let's say you want to create a 4-page brochure. It's got a front cover. When you open the brochure, it's got a left inside and a right inside, and then it has a back cover. Basic 4-page brochure. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll do a new document. And change to inches. Here, we want to create facing pages. And right now, I'm just going to leave it as page 1. You could add all 4 pages here, but we're not going to. I'm going to show you why here in a second. We're going to start with 1. This first page that we see will be the cover. All right, now for demo's sake, let's go back to our demo. We're going to copy all this. And we're going to go to our new document. We're going to paste it. Now we have a nice cover to start with. We'll hide our guides. We'll hide our frames. You can hide guides by Command Shift bracket, or you can do it over here. And we'll hide our frame edges. Okay, now you'll notice master pages, we now have 2 pages, right and left. But if we add a page, unlike before where it dropped down right below number 1, this one is going to drop down and be on the other side. Okay, well, not quite there. We only have 2 pages. Well, guess where page 3 is going to line up? Yep, right there. Now we've got our spread. Page 4, our back cover is going to come underneath. So here we have page 1. Here's our inside 2 and 3, and our back page, page 4. So scale that down. You can see there's all 4 pages. Now the beautiful thing about doing it this way is if you are doing a multiple page booklet, that's going to be saddle stitched. And let's say it's an 8-page document or a 12-page. You can just continue to add pages, and they will add it in basically what's called a paginated format, so that when it comes time to package this, or I shouldn't say package, when it comes time to print this, rather than just print, you do print booklet. And we'll talk about that. That's probably more of an advanced thing, but print booklet does what's called pagination, and it makes it so that page 1 lines up with page 8, page 2 lines up with page 7, and so on. So that when they're folded and stapled, if you've ever taken apart a brochure before, or taken the staples out, you will see that, you know, once you get them all taken apart, the pages don't really look like they line up. Page 2 is across from page 7. That's where you do this, though, is in print booklet. So I just want to break here for a second or two and just see if there's any questions or anything I can answer as far as what you've seen, or would you like I can show you more as far as how to manipulate text. Oh, go ahead.
I do have a question. I had forgotten. What are the control keys to when you want to group? You know, you've set up your image the way you like it. Maybe scroll up a page, like up there. You want to group it and you want to move it around just your placement, but that you grab all of it instead of, because sometimes when I would grab it, I only grab one element.
Oh, okay, so select all, Command or Control G. Now it's all grouped. Oh, let me show you this too. Thanks for reminding me, LJ. This is kind of fun. I'll do a quick demo down here. Let's take this paragraph. Let's copy it and let's paste it right here. This is kind of fun. So let's say we want to decorate this a little bit. So we come over here and we add our character style. And we come over here and we add, we're going to enlarge that. Let's make that really nice big type, and we want to make that medium. Okay, now, and let's take that and let's make that bold. And trust me, I'm not paying any attention to style here, but we're going to bump that up a little bit. Okay, now what we've got here, this is kind of a cool little thing. We've got a text box that has several different elements in it. We've got the black highlight, we've got regular text, we've got text that is bold, and instead of 12 point, it's 15 point. So it's kind of all over the place. Well, let's say in your brochure design, you decide, you know what, that is just, it needs to be a different size, but I want it to scale. I want all the type to come up the same. Well, you can treat this just like a graphic. You can hold your Shift, Option, Command key down, or your Shift, Control, Alt, and just drag it and scale it. And everything scales up. So what was 12 point is now 14, 14.76 to be exact. Everything is scaled up accordingly. So that is a nice little thing to know, that you can do something, you know, like that, as far as if you want to bring everything up. Once you've got it set, you don't want to disrupt anything. Everything scales, you know, at the right size. Let me see what else can I tell you about. Any, like I said, any questions? If I've spurred on some, you know, and of course it still has all the text properties that it has. One other thing that you can do, this is kind of fun. Let's say you want to, well, keep this simple. Want to create a very basic logo. So I'll type that L, and we'll make it large, color it. duplicate it. J, H. So what we can do is we can take all these individual letters, go up under type, and we create outlines. Now it no longer is editable. It is a shape in the shape of an L. So we enlarge it. You're saying, well, Michael, what's the advantage of that? Why would you do that? Well, if you take this direct selection tool over here, you'll notice that the L has got points. So if we drag over one point, we can manipulate that. We're going to have a little fun with scaling and shaping. So this one here is still in text format. You can still scale it. We want to put that there. Let's say we want to, we'll also come under edit or down here to type, and we will change that to outlines. So it can be editable as a shape. Click on one. And then let's say we like that, but we notice it has no outline, so we will click and give it an outline. Now it kind of pops out of there. And finally we have the H, still editable. Bring that up and make it large, but let's say we are not crazy about still in text format, so we can select it. We'll change it to light. And now we will change it to going to type. We'll take that and make that an outline. Now, group all those, select them all, Command G. Now I got a real spiffy logo for LJ.
That's awesome.
You'll notice that we put it on that blue background, that white outline really pops. I only put it there when I had it off that just to make a separation. But if you wanted, select all, you can once again double click, select one, and you can add white to each of those elements. So this is where InDesign really works nicely as a design tool. For you don't have to get out of InDesign and go to Illustrator to create your graphic. You can do it right there as long as it's simple. And of course, everything is live at all times. Anything is always editable in the InDesign format. Okay, I'll ask again. Any questions? Is this spurred on any ideas?
Juliana has a question. Oh, did you want to go ahead? Juliana asked, what do you think about using Photoshop to create images and move them to InDesign through the Adobe library? Are there disadvantages to that approach?
No, that would be something more advanced. The beautiful thing about the Adobe products are they're all interchangeable, they're all linked. So if I were to open up Photoshop and manipulate this image, going in, making it more or less colorful, whatever it is I do, if I do it this way, if I come down here to links, no, I'm sorry, I don't want to do it there. I want to right mouse click. While the image is selected, you'll notice I've got Edit Original. Now, if I just click Edit Original and it wasn't created in Photoshop, it's going to open it up in Preview. It'll open it up in whatever the default is. So you want to make sure you Edit With, and then you select Photoshop. Now, if you do it that way, and I realize I'm kind of talking, the answer to the question is yes, that's a wonderful way to use it because that links the Adobe suite all together, and that, yeah, there's no disadvantage of doing it that way at all. But the idea is that this is nothing, what we're viewing here on the screen is nothing more than a linked image. If I open this in Photoshop and make changes and then come back, the image automatically updates, which is seamless. It's very nice. Same thing in Illustrator. You create a document in Illustrator, bring it into Photoshop as a placed graphic. If you change it in Illustrator, it will automatically update in InDesign. There is a new tool that's become available as a third-party plugin that we bought the demo. We ordered the demo for it. It's long since expired, but it allows you to do the same thing with text. So if you import a text through this particular plugin, I'm sorry, the name escapes me. I wasn't prepared to talk about this. There's a plugin that you can buy that if you import it through that plugin and then place it, and then somebody on the other end modifies that text in Word, that text automatically updates in your InDesign document. But that is not native to InDesign. That is a third-party plugin that is available for purchase. It's not cheap. It's like $300 a license. So if you find yourself doing a lot of transposing documents, you know, between Word and InDesign, it's probably something useful. We've looked at it. Like I said, I ordered the demo. I used it a couple of times. It's really nice. Didn't seem to reveal any. I didn't see any hiccups or any caveats. It worked really well. But the product expired. The demo that we purchased, or did not purchase, the demo we downloaded expired. So yes, that's a good question. And yes, the Adobe products, the Adobe Suite is seamless between applications.
If there aren't any other questions, did you want to show us how you save it and sharing the file and you would have to stop the share and then share your other?
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share. And then I'm going to share the screen again. And this time we will share desktop too. It might look a little similar because it's got the same InDesign, but I'll hide the InDesign. So there's InDesign. I'm just going to Command H to hide it, like that. Okay, so you see a window there?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to come down. I'll show you where that file wound up. And this is one of the great things about InDesign, because everything is linked. It has to package and link accordingly. So I saved that way down here in research development, graphics, demo, and there is the demo 2 folder that I created. The InDesign file is there, the INDD. There's the demo 2 PDF, which is a really nice reference. There's the document fonts. So it's got the Accidents Grotesque here. Oops. And links. And we only use one image, so the one image is there. But one really fun thing, one cool thing InDesign does is it creates this little dude right there. That is the IDML InDesign document. That is there as a way in case this file is being shared with somebody who does not have the latest version of InDesign. If you find that you can't open the INDD file and you get some notification saying your InDesign isn't up to date, it packages this cute little IDML version, which you can open in most versions of InDesign as long as it's no further than, I believe, about 4 versions back. And maybe 3, I think it's 3 versions back. So this is kind of a fail-safe, a catch-all, so everyone can share the file. Everyone that has, you know, at least some version of InDesign will be able to open that. And just for grins, let's go back to InDesign really quick. I'll show you one other fun thing. So let's go back to this, you'll notice that when I get small like this, I'm able to see all the pages. Text turns to gray lines. Basically, that's called Greeking. It just Greeks out, lets you know that there's text there. It's not expected that it can be read, so that's why it's just positioned, like it's kind of just positioned there. As you zoom in, of course, the text becomes available and editable. Let me see, what else can I tell you about real quick that I feel like is important? Oh yeah, I never did tell, I'm sorry, I got off track. Oh no, I showed you text size or image size, how important that is. I don't think InDesign or Word and PowerPoint have that ability to text or check file size or DPI. So that's a really nice, nice little advantage, just as a side thought. One other fun thing, now that I'm thinking about, if we wanted to decorate this a little more, option. Even though this is all grouped, I double-clicked it and selected this particular hexagon. I'm going to drag that out, put it there, and I'm going to scale it. I'm going to double-click it and delete it. Now I'm just left with a nice hexagon outline. I come back up to effects, change it from multiply to normal. Now I can see all the edges because nothing is multiplying and dropping out from where it was. So you can just further enhance your document, but your design, if you feel like you want to buff it up a little bit more, make a few duplicates. Oh, I'll show you something really fun. Let's say you got all this far. Let's ungroup, Command Shift, Control Shift, G. Everything is now ungrouped. Drag that out of the way for a second. Just in case. Select all. They're all selected. I'm up under Object. I'm down here to Convert Shape, Ellipse, bang. I have a beautiful elliptical version of that. If you get tired of your hexagons, you can do something like that.
Very cool. Thank you, Michael.
You are very, very welcome. Well, I hope I've inspired some people to jump on with this. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention that is really cool. As long as I've got you, I'm going to open up Acrobat, which because I'm sharing the screen, you should see that now, correct? You see the Acrobat? See the PDF?
Yes.
Okay. Just hide InDesign. Let's say you want to export that to a Word document. Can be done. However, there are caveats, and you've got to be very careful about those caveats. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's click Export. I'll show you what I mean. It's in the same folder. We'll click Save. Exporting, process for export, writing the file, and it's going to open it in Word. Now, you will see it's pretty much the same thing. We haven't really changed too much, but there are some things that did not come across there. These are the little kludgy things that you're just going to have to kind of play with. You'll notice that we got the drop cap, we got our highlight, we got our perfectly spaced images. But we only got our page number down here. It's missing on 2 and 1. So it's not 100%. There are these little issues that you would have to work through. Of course, if your bottom line is the fact you want to actually have a Word document, then you can just add those kinds of things in your Word doc, because this is a legitimate Word document. You'll notice we lost all our transitions though. We lost, you know, the multiplying and the overlapping because the Word application and PowerPoint, they do not support that.
Thank you so much, Michael. And we are just
I'm not done. Hold on.
okay. We are just about out of time.
I know. 5 more seconds.
Okay.
If you do want to do that, let's undo this. If you decide that you like this and you want to bring that into Word like this, and you have access to Photoshop, actually you don't even need access to Photoshop. You can take all that, copy it, new document, 30 more seconds, I promise. Change to inches. It's 8.5 by, let's make it 5. That's a 5-inch high. We don't want facing pages. Click OK. We paste. Come up to export. We export that graphic as a JPEG. MLX. Save it. Export it as a maximum baseline 300 DPI. Export that. Back to our original. Delete. Control or Command D. Demo X. Bring it in, drag it, place it. Now it is a JPEG image. Now if we export it, oops. Now if we export that to a Word, save it. There it is. Because we brought it in as a JPEG. So there are workarounds. Now we have the dynamic image that we had before. Anyway, that's all I got. So
That was so worth it. Thank you. That really was amazing.
very welcome.
That says that we need more workshops from you, Michael. Everyone that's stayed online, thank you. I'm certain that Michael Northrup is available to assist you with if you have any questions later on, or just trying to get into, you know, how can you make a document more creative. I'm sure he would love to help you. Thank you for joining us.
Bye, everybody. Unless there's questions.
Thanks, Michael. Bye.
Oh, you're very welcome. Oh, Jillian's in the house. Oh, she was until she dropped. Well, there she is.